For our viewers that maybe aren't familiar with your services, just tell us a little bit about BAM and kind of what you're providing to bowling centers around the country.
Sure. So really quick, are you familiar with the Pareto Principle, Bart?
I am.
Okay. Well, just to reiterate, it's the old 80-20, that 20% of what you do provides 80% of the results. So we've just applied that towards all the different marketing things you can do. Working with Midway and a bunch of other types of businesses, we've kind of whittled it down that there's really only 20% of the stuff actually moves the needle. So because we can do that, we can bring down the cost, but still move the needle and get some results for clients by just focusing on those high impact things. So the high impact things that we're focused on today, something that you're a big proponent of, Bart, is the CRM platform. So we have a robust one of that we do a lot of work on the back end. Facebook ad management, Google ad management, as well as SEO, which we'll probably get into a little bit later. We also do some email marketing, graphic design, and now video editing as well.
Good. Well, I love that you've really simplified things and drilled it down to the high impact things at work. I think that's just brilliant. So let's take a step back at 30,000 feet, because I've heard you say before, and I personally am a subscriber to this, but I want you to share this with our viewers today, is that there's only 3 ways to grow revenue. Can you share those with us and talk a little bit about them?
Sure. Yeah. So to really simplify things, like you said, because we're not, sophisticated. We like to keep it simple. And when you have some constraints over your model and your mental model, it kind of helps you get a little more creative, counterintuitively. But there's really only 3 things that we found that work. The first one is to increase your average ticket. So, sometimes that's increasing prices, or it might be packaging a few things together, a few different product lines, so that people spend more when they come in. So that's the first one, is, if you can get a higher wallet share when they walk in the door, that's the first way to grow. The second one is visit frequency. So when we did math, we looked through the books of our centers, and we've talked to a few other proprietors. And believe it or not, the average annual visit frequency for a center is 1.5 times a year. So 2 times every 3 years is all someone comes in. So imagine just getting someone to come in one more time. It's a huge increase in revenue just from that small, action to get them to come in. And it's easier to get someone to come back in than it is to get someone new to come in for the first time. So that's one of the first areas we focus at, and we'll probably get into a little bit of how we actually do that. And then the last one is the one that people think of off the bat is just more new customers. So that's the third way.
Yeah, I love that, Forrest. You are preaching to the choir here to those of us at the university, because that's what we teach to as well. And while we may use a little different terminology, they really mean the same, that you can get a new guest to come see you, acquisition. You can get a guest to come more frequency, to build in the frequency, or in either of those, you can increase the check average. And I love that you're keeping that simple in there. So let's talk a minute about the new guest. If we want to focus on that, because as you said, it's probably the top thing that people go to, and it is important, although probably one of the more costly items. What do you recommend as some tactics that you can share with folks today that are joining us about that new guest, or what we call that customer acquisition?
Sure. Yeah. So I think one of the big things to take in mind, especially when marketing, is it all comes down to behavior, right? So what are people doing? And we want to insert ourselves in what they're already doing rather than trying to go against the grain. Fighting human nature, human behavior is difficult. So I like to try to do everything we can to go with that grain of what they're already doing. And so I picked up a stat, about a year or two ago, that the average person spends about 4 to 5 hours a day on their phone, which it just blows my mind. But that's what people, where they are. So the thing that I recommend most is get to people on their phone. So the 2 platforms we focus on most are Google. So that's going to be, with the AdWords and coming up with, they search, places to have fun with the family near me. You need to be coming up as one of those first options. And then Facebook's the other one. Facebook also owns Instagram, so you get those 2 together. But making sure you're popping up in their feed so that you're top of mind, and they might even be discovering you for the first time. But that's where they're spending their time. You might as well hit them there.
Yeah, good. So you talked about the couple of platforms there. What are some tactics that you're seeing, or what are centers today doing to market themselves?
Sure. So I'm a big fan of Facebook advertising. We'll get in a little bit into the post probably a little later on if we have time. But when it comes to the advertising, you just have such a big opportunity when it comes to targeting. because Facebook is really just a huge data mine. All the things that you like, or you comment, or you interact, or you watch a video, they're tracking all of that, so they get a good picture about who their users are. And then as an advertiser, you get to use that. So instead of wasting your money on someone who has no interest in coming into your center, you can actually target it and dial down into someone who's already interested in bowling, or someone who wants to have someone whose child has a birthday coming up. So you can cut straight through all the noise and get in front of like the perfect person with your ads, and your money just goes so much further.
Yeah, go ahead there. I'm sorry.
I was going to say one more that is working really well for us is YouTube. So we started doing some YouTube with video. Video has a little bit higher barrier to entry, so there's a lot less people doing it. It's tougher to make a video than certain other types of ads. But if you do like the pre-roll ads, the ones where you can skip it after 5 seconds, we're only paying 2 to 3 cents for clients per view. And that's for people who don't skip it. And it's nice because when you're doing video, you can build a bigger, better image of your brand, so that they see like, oh, this is a business that really has it together, and you can present yourself in the best light because no one else is doing it. So I really like those two.
Good, great tips there. So in marketing circles, we've kind of half jokingly say 50% of all marketing works. The challenge is we just don't know which 50%. So how do we know if what we're doing is working? Is the tools and things that you're talking about, are they measurable? How does a small business, how do I know?
Sure. I mean, that's the million, or probably today the $1 billion question, right? Is what's working? In our industry is actually, I think, more difficult than a lot of others. Just because, someone sees an ad and comes in and has a drink and bowls a game, it's tough to tie that back. So we take a couple different steps. I mean, number one, if there's anything that you can do that is a purchase online, that's going to help a lot. So if you have any kind of online reservation system, or one of these POSs that has online ordering, that's the first one, because you can see where they came from and get that attribution. The second one is to focus on things that are a little bit larger ticket. So like if you have like an event, for instance, you can see where people came in. If you run an ad campaign to try to book, corporate events or holiday parties are coming up, you can run an ad campaign focused on that. And when they apply, that they came through that. Especially if you're running a campaign, you see a spike, that it went up based off of those efforts. So it's a lot of different stuff. You're trying to make it unique so that you can see the difference. So you got to measure your baseline, keep it specific, and then measure your new number that you got, and you can see the difference. I wish we had the luxury of being more like the e-commerce people today, but that's just not the case. So we got to just do our best and try to tie back as much as possible.
Hey, did you like this video? Great. We make 10 of them a week. Subscribe to learn more and keep learning about what's working in the industry. Talk to you then.